Put a hook in the vise with a bead on it. Start your thread right behind the bead and wrap to the bend. Cut the tag end of thread off. Grab a piece of midge crystal flash, fold it in half, and then fold it in half again over the thread. Bring it up and tie it down on top of the shank. Take wraps to the end of the thread so it is extending past the hook bend. Cut it all to about 1.5 times the hook length. Then cut 2 of the fibers about half of the longer fibers in length. Color the tips of the longer fibers with a bright orange marker. Bring your thread back to about where the barb would be if this wasn't a barbless hook, and secure bead chain eyes on top of the hook. Take cross wraps to anchor these to the shank. Flip the hook over, cut a piece of scud back to about half the hook gap in width. Start it behind the bead and wrap it over the eyes. At this point, cross your thread over the bead and back, and do this in a process to secure the bead about just barely behind the hook eye, as we will be tying in front of the bead to whip finish it off. After this, secure about a 3-inch dubbing noodle onto your thread. Start making cross wraps over the bead chain eyes to cover up all the thread and build a plump little head. Take a rubber leg, fold it in half, and fold it and tie an overhand knot. Be careful not to break. If you're using round rubber legs, they're a little bit more durable, but if you're using crazy legs like me, they might break a little bit. I go through a lot. Should be an overhand knot. Do 2 overhand knots with 1 leg. If this is too hard, do it with 2 individual strands so you have more freedom to wrap around. After that, cut one of the segments a little bit short, about 1/4 inch, and then do the same to the near side. The claws should extend about half the hook length in length, and the claws should be about half of the arm length. Secure a piece of wire on top of the hook. Prepare a piece of ostrich herl and tie it in right where you tied in the wire. Flip the hook over and dub another about 5-inch noodle on your thread. Taper the body down to the bead. Grab the ostrich herl and make open spiral wraps down the hook shank. About 4 or 5 should do it. Once you reach the bead, tie it off and cut it. Cut the tops of the herl off so that the carapace will lay flat. Bring your thread to in front of the bead and fold the scud back over. Take open wraps of thread to secure it. The skin should concave over the body of the crayfish. Grab the wire and, while shaking it to make sure you don't trap any of the ostrich herl, make open spiral wraps over the scud back. You should end about on your 5th wrap of wire where your thread is. Then take thread wraps to secure the wire, bring your thread up, and helicopter the wire off. At this point you can whip finish, and that's the fly. Oh, and cut the tail, but this is not necessary, just to make it the right shape.